Hello, this is Phil. This is the Unionist podcast, and this is my conversation with Don Crosatto. Hope you like it. So, Don Crosatto, what's your title?
Assistant Directing Business Representative for Machinist District 190 of Northern California.
And the district, what's the breakdown on the district compared to the lodges?
So the machinists we still use this 19th century terminology because we go back to 1880.
I'm a Teamster, and we have the similar structures but different names. I think.
Yeah, so it's all this Masonic stuff that goes back to the 19th century, but so district lodges are generally wide geographies, locals or locals. So most of the area director for Local 1546, which is Oakland and Richmond, San Pablo, and Contra Costa County.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been area director now. This is year 20. Actually, last month started year 20. Year 21, pardon me.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, I know. A lot of punishment.
But you weren't a gearhead like a lot of these guys.
No, I'm not. I came into this through politics, actually, which is kind of weird. I was the machinist lobbyist, one of the two lobbyists in Sacramento, but working out of this office here in Oakland. And Mike Day, who was the area director at the time, saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time and said, I think you'd be a good organizer.
How old were you?
27.
Oh, wow.
And thought about it, and at those days, if you remember those days, and you're not that much younger than me, the Democrats had a majority in the legislature. You had George Duke Magian as governor.
Oh, the Duke Magian.
So you'd have, you'd propose all this, what we thought was good legislation. It would pass. You'd do all this work, pass the Assembly, pass the Senate, get vetoed. Hit the repeat button, and then the next year hit the repeat button again. And it's like, okay, 3-4 years of doing this is getting kind of tiresome. It's like, why are we bothering? I mean, none of this stuff's going to get passed. So I'd rather do something a little bit more practical.
Now that was before the California initiative process, right?
Oh no, we had initiatives and stuff.
Has initiatives, but I mean, where the general public could vote in.
Oh yeah, the initiative
amendments?
Process goes back to like 1913. That was one of the progressive reforms.
Oh.
Yeah, we've had them for literally over 100 years.
It seems like it's.
Well, no, in fact,
it's getting old.
In those days, you get to a certain age when you start saying back in the day, like in 87 or 88, we had Props 59, 61, something like that. It was about putting Cal OSHA back because Duke Magian had zeroed Cal OSHA out of the budget. And that was a big deal because you had to go to federal OSHA. That was in the Reagan days.
You're kidding me.
Gutted federal OSHA. No. So he zeroed them out of the budget, and their budget at the time was a whopping, I want to say it was like $12 million or something, but it was a really symbolic thing. So he put it on the California Labor Federation, all the unions got together, got it on the ballot, and it passed overwhelmingly and reinstated Cal OSHA. So that was kind of the first turning of the tide.
And there it's been.
And there it's been since, that was, I think, 88.
Yeah, no, in my experience, too, Cal OSHA is fantastic compared to the other guys.
Compared to the feds. I mean, there's a lot of
nobody's perfect.
No, there's a lot that could be done there. But
are you happy that Trump lost?
No, yeah. Yeah, to say the least. I mean, obviously, it would have been nicer if you had a majority in the Senate because, there's a huge backlog of potentially progressive legislation that could be passed.
Right. Well, do you think that, because obviously he's acting like a toddler, but it just dawned on me, which everybody else probably has already figured out, but he could tank Georgia.
Yeah.
And flip control of the Senate over to the Democrats if
he really wants to throw a tantrum. That's a possibility. I mean,
to keep McConnell basically doing, because McConnell would,
keep him dancing. Yeah.
He would, knife his own children
to stay in power.
Stay in power.
Yeah. That could be the ultimate FU. I don't know. It's if you look at the history of those Georgia elections though, because they got this goofy January, and it's always like right after New Year's runoff.
Right.
And it's typically the hardcore voters, which tend to be more conservative.
Your conservative old folks.
Old folks that got nothing else to do with their time. They're the ones that'll troop to the polls on like January 3rd, or I think it's January 5th this year.
But still, like Biden winning for us, for union people, it's going to be a big difference. Looking at the NLRB.
The NLRB, I mean, although again, you got to remember, NLRB appointments are for terms. So it's not like with the Secretary of State where, okay, you go in and fire Pompeo, broom them immediately. The labor board people, and this was true the first year of the Trump administration, we knew it was going to be bad, but the Labor Board didn't do anything bad because it was still all the Obama holdovers. As their terms expired, they let them sit for a while, and then they appointed like attorneys from Littler Mendelsohn and Morgan Lewis and other wonderful law firms.
But I thought they always left like there's always been like a vacancy or two.
There's always a vacancy
because they can't
and
get anybody appointed.
Somebody will quit or whatever. But and there's, I think, 2 of them are up in calendar 2021, so probably by the end of 21. But again, you got to get somebody that's confirmed through the Senate. Sometimes they'll do a package. They say, all right, look, we'll give, and McConnell had done that deal with Obama and Schumer. We'll give you your crappy management lawyer if you let our progressive lawyer in. We'll do a 1-for-1. And there's always, because I don't believe there's anything explicit in the statute. It's more by custom that it's you've got 3 from one party and 2 from the other.
God, the norms in the last 3 years, just seeing norms get decimated.
Right. Well, that norm, I read some, it shows you how bored I get, was reading some NLRB history.
That's not boring. It's nerdy.
It's nerdy or stupid or whatever. But anyway, apparently when they originally conceived of it, the board, the idea was that it was not going to be this partisan thing where you'd have like pro-union lawyers and management lawyers duking it out. The idea was it was going to be maybe like nerdy labor academic types who would kind of come in and think about, okay, what's the best approach to solving these labor law problems?
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah. And apparently the first decade or 2 of its existence, it was kind of like that. Then it was like, oh no, we got to get people, kind of like the Supreme Court. We got to get people thoroughly vetted. We know exactly how they're going to vote on controversial issues. And I mean, both sides have done it, to be fair.
It's right. And it's funny, just relating to that is how, arbitrator selection has gotten so
politicized.
So politicized. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, although again, the good arbitrators, they leave you guessing. They'll, because if you're an arbitrator, if you're an arbitrator has a reputation always ruling for management, well, the labor guys are going to strike you and vice versa. So you better throw some decisions.
But the funny part is the decisions, right? In a perfect world, and the world's far from perfect, but in a perfect world, it's the merits, and maybe they just got a lot of, employer side cases, or
that is possible.
But they get branded,
Yeah, but you got to think about it as 9 times out of 10, it's the union bringing the arbitration, right? So it's usually a guy who got terminated or a contract interpretation thing. So, more often than not, it's the union that's seeking the remedy. So if you're voting most of the time for the union, even though the merits may lie that way, and they certainly don't always, but if
I just had an arbitration over our friends over at the store here, sell Fords.
Yeah.
It was a wholesale victory.
Really? Yeah. Excellent.
It was a really poor management decision.
Okay.
And they dug in. Principled, things get weird when people get principled.
I know. Yep.
But, so, I mean, what's going to happen?
Do you want to talk about the election? Because since I got a forum here, I might as well expound. So,
let it go.
So here's an interesting thing on the
election being the presidential national.
No,
election.
I'm thinking California.
Oh, okay.
Because there's been a little bit of gnashing of teeth amongst the Democrats. They lost a couple of those seats in Orange County that they flipped 2 years ago. And it's like, and of course the affirmative action thing lost, which wasn't really surprising. You saw what was interesting to me was none of the commentators have touched it. How much of the opposition came out of the Asian American community?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I live on the peninsula, which is in some pretty heavily Asian American neighborhoods. And you'd see all sorts of no on 16 signs. And there was huge opposition in Silicon Valley.
And 16 was the property tax one.
No, that was the affirmative action one.
Oh,
repealing 209.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a lot of and the fact that 22 passed, 15, the property tax one lost. You have a couple of these demos that got elected in these formerly very red Orange County seats. Like, well, maybe California's starting to swing back the other way. It's like, nah. I again, doing the nerdy thing, you can go to the Secretary of State's website. It's all right at your fingertips.
Right.
And I'm looking at these results and it's like, okay, there's 53 congressmen in California. There are, I think there were 8 Republicans going in. Looks like they're going to flip to maybe even 3 seats.
In the State House.
No, state Congress.
Oh, okay.
For Congress.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about like,
House of Representatives.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, who went down?
It was Harley Ruda, who was in Southern Orange County. That was the old Dana Rohrabacher's seat. And then TJ Cox in Kern County.
Rohrabacher, Russia's favorite congressman?
He got defeated the last go-round.
Okay.
So now he got beat by the guy who replaced him was a guy named Harley Rowda. He got beat by a woman on the Orange County Board of Soups.
Oh, okay.
And there's another seat in Orange County. But anyway, looking at all the stats on this stuff, of all the Republicans who are either winning or within arm's length of winning, the highest margin of victory in any of these seats is 58%, and that was Kevin McCarthy. And there was only one other guy over 55. So the remaining 8 seats that they're either winning or on the verge of winning, 52, 51, 53. Huh. So if you're and again, these seats are this is the remaining sort of hardcore Republican parts of the state. When Barbara Lee wins an election by 54% of the vote against an underfunded Republican in Alameda County, that would really be saying something, right? Well, or Nancy Pelosi barely wins against a Republican in Sanford. That would really be saying something.
You would know this, but when you get to a lot of these states controlled with, Republican state legislatures, they're so heavily gerrymandered.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, how bad or lack thereof of gerrymandering is there in California?
Well, remember, they got rid of it in, I forget the prop number. It was it was before they started renumbering them back.
I remember because my guy, they redrew the district I live in completely. I think we're 1 now.
Yeah. So no, they after that, and it was funny. The Democrats opposed it, but it was sort of one of those good government things.
Because you don't have a lot of congressional races that are between 50 and 55. Yeah.
No. So the Democrats opposed it. Pelosi and all these people, they threw money against it, but it still passed. And it was get rid of the gerrymander, have a objective body.
So we're legit.
Yeah, we're legit. These are legit districts. So because
I was going to say, if they're that close.
No. If you look at the old maps from 20 years ago, you'd have all these weird things that snaked in and out and bizarre crossing multiple. There's no connection. At all.
There's a commission.
There's an independent commission. If you look at the districts now, most of them make pretty good sense. They used to have to get some of the Democrats in the Valley competitive. They'd throw them over a hill and pick up pieces of Antioch or find a way to snake it into South San Jose. There was a district that was in Modesto, and they had to figure a way to get a piece of South San Jose into it to make it competitive, and they don't do that stuff anymore. So these are legit districts.
So it's competitive. That's good.
It's competitive, which is how it should be. But then you look at if I'm a Republican, I'm really, really nervous. You look at this. There's this one district. That's the high desert, Victorville, that area, the eastern parts. If you look on a map, it's huge because it takes in the whole of the Mojave Desert and Inyo County and these huge places. There's hardly anybody living there. Hardcore, again, these are areas, and it's like the Orange County ones 25 years ago, because I got all the state AFL-CIO conventions and endorsing people. And it's who are all these people running? Oh, these are just the Democratic sacrificial lambs in Orange County and San Diego County. So it's
how do they find people to run against sometimes?
There's probably some guy who's the head of the central city council guy, school board guy, head of the Democratic Party in the county or whatever. So they put the guy up. He gets the 30% hardcore Democrats will vote for the guy. He has no money. So his opponent wouldn't even break a sweat. I mean, it's the same thing the Republicans do in a lot of these Bay Area districts. They find somebody. And
how do you get somebody to run against Barbara Lee
if somebody with the ego trip or whatever, they get their name on the ballot and nobody pays any attention. It was the same thing down there. And then all of a sudden it's that guy got 40%. Oh, he got 43%. Now it's the guy won the district. So these districts and a lot of it's demographics. So anyway, this Antelope Valley district that was the last election was 2 Republicans running because it's that jungle primary thing.
Right.
This time a Democrat I'd never heard of gets on the ballot. She gets 47% of the vote.
Wow. Yeah, I forgot we got the open primaries too.
Right. So, and you do the same thing. Now, the Democrats in the state Senate, there were 4 Republican districts. They're still counting the votes. 3 of them could flip. So they may be down to 7 Republicans.
And they're still counting?
Senate. Yeah, there's still 1 million ballots out there.
I know.
Well, you think about it, the whole state's vote by mail.
Whatever happened to Tom McClintock? Is he still running around?
Yeah, he won again, but again, he was another one with 53% of the vote.
No kidding.
Yeah, we had our state council machinists. We had a virtual meeting for obvious reasons.
Yep.
And one of the speakers was the woman running against him, who I don't believe had ever held office. I think she'd made a few bucks in some technology business, lived in the area, decided she wanted to throw her hat in the ring, and Well, the woman who ran against him last time raised some money, made a little bit of noise, still lost. So this, I think people are figuring the demographics of this district are not very favorable for a Democrat.